The first day of winter is next Wednesday, and with it comes the chance of winter weather.
It's tough to tell what the forecast will be weeks ahead of time, but we can find a couple hints. Here's the WFMY News 2 Winter Weather Outlook.
December is here. That means it's time for the annual News 2 Winter Forecast. Before we unveil that, let's talk about what does a typical winter in the Triad even look like. If you look at temperatures, on average, we see about low 40s. That's taking into account the highs and the lows. Precipitation, rain, snow, sleet, everything all together melted down 9.5 inches. That's on average or so. The average snow in the Triad is about 7 inches, and we only usually see 2 to 3 days per winter season with an inch or more.
What months are we likely to have snow here in the Piedmont? Well, to answer that question, we got to look at data from PTI. First of all, going all the way back to 1903, we've had just under 1,000 inches of snow here in the Piedmont, and in a normal winter season, we would have about 7 inches. Snows very little in November, a little bit more in December. Our snowiest month is January, followed by February, but don't discount the month of March. The first part of that month, we can have some pretty big storms here in the Piedmont.
When we think about what kind of winter we may have in the Piedmont and across North Carolina, we have to really boil it down to the science. So you've likely heard the terms El Nino and La Nina. And now for the third year in a row, we're in a La Nina weather pattern. So what does that mean? Well, it all happens out in the Pacific Ocean. That's where it starts, with cooling ocean water near the equator. And with cooler ocean water, we get less thunderstorms to form. So we have less storm or less opportunities. Meanwhile, the subtropical jet stream, which carries weather systems across the country, is also a bit weaker. So we get less in the way of moisture and less in the way of storm systems, which means we have less of a chance at bat during the winter to get any kind of weather system to turn into winter weather. So with a less active storm track, now the second piece to the puzzle is cold air. You got to have cold air. A polar jet in a La Nina year lives further to the north, so we have less in the way of Arctic outbreaks, less cold air, less storm systems, which means the wetter weather stays mainly to the north. The drier weather stays across the south. And yes, that includes us in North Carolina. And when you think about less cold air, yes, we're looking at a warmer winter here in the Piedmont of North Carolina and all across the south. Meanwhile, the colder winter lives up to the north.
Looking at those La Nina years can give us clues to what will happen this year. We gathered a collection of years from recent memory and took a look at what that means. Let's start with precipitation. In those specific winters, we had a little bit less precipitation than usual. In fact, by about ½ an inch or so. So this year, we could expect things to be a little drier than normal, but that doesn't always mean less snow. Looking at those same winters when it comes to temperature, notice it's usually a little bit warmer than average by about ½ a degree. So we could expect this season temperatures to be slightly warmer than usual. It'll still be cold, but not as much as normal. Now, one factor we have to take into account with seasonal forecasts is climate change. If you look back to the 1970s, our Triad winters are warmer than they used to be by about 4.5 degrees. But all anyone wants to talk about is snow. Those warmer winters we've been seeing have cut into our average snowfall. In fact, it's decreased by about ½ an inch over the last 10 years or so. The normal is about 7 inches here in the Triad. In the years I analyzed, similar winters, well, they showed pretty close to that, around 6.8 inches. Not a very big difference, which tells me we should probably expect near average snowfall. But keep in mind, snow is fickle here in the Triad. All that snow, well, it could be one or several smaller different snow events. To sum it all up, here's your News 2 winter forecast for 2022-2023. We expect things to be slightly drier than normal, slightly warmer than normal. Snow should be somewhat close to our average. Ice, same story. Be prepared. You know our Triad winters can have a mind of their own.
Yes, they do. I can't help but look at that slightly warmer. This does not mean we're going to be wearing shorts during winter time.
A lot of people get confused because often we say we will have an above average winter. Most of our recent winters have been warmer than average, but keep in mind, winter is always winter. It's always going to be the coldest season of the year. It's never going to be 70s all the time. So when we say slightly warmer, we're talking about 43.5 instead of 42. I mean, that might not sound like a big difference, and it really isn't.
I liked it.
Okay, very
I was
good.
a fan. You know, at the end of it, I was a fan of all the things that you're predicting.
So we don't have snow in the forecast just yet, but coming up we'll talk about the pattern toward Christmas, which is a little interesting. I'll just put it that way.
Interesting. Use that word.
Stick around for it.